There's a moment in Le Mans 66, lads, where Bale plays Ken Miles. He's tearing through the track at insanity speed. The Ford roaring like a beast possessed. The camera shakes, the engine screams, and it all looks cool. It all sounds incredible. But there's one problem. It's fake. And not the story, not the struggle, not the fight against corporate politics. Those things are actually painfully real. But the actual racing itself, lads, if you're a motorsport fan, you'll know within minutes that this is Hollywood's version of racing, not the real thing. And yet I'm telling you, you should absolutely watch this movie. Not because of the racing, not because of the men behind the wheel. Because Le Mans 66, it's not a racing movie per se. It's a film about it's about obsession. Two men trying to, and I mean just desperately trying to achieve something while fighting against things that they just don't understand. Things that don't appreciate them, ultimately don't respect them. This is not a film about Ford versus Ferrari. It's about Ken Miles versus the goddamn world. Peter.
Wow.
Now, let's be honest, lads. It is a great movie, but the racing in Le Mans is not realistic. Okay, the way the cars move, the way they crash, the way they look to the drivers intensely at each other mid-race, that's just not how it works. You know, real racing is dirty. It can be dirty. It can be unpredictable and brutal. And there are no clean, glamorous shots of drivers locking eyes before overtaking, all right? You don't have time. This is the last thing on your mind. Sorry, it's not even the last thing on your mind. It doesn't come onto your mind. There's just instinct, survival, and pure aggression. But where does the film get it right? Well, it absolutely nails everything but the racing sequences. The story of Carroll Shelby, played by Matt Damon, brilliant. Ken Miles, Christian Bale, brilliant. Is the heart of this movie, really. Shelby's a legend. He's won Le Mans already. He understands racing inside and out, but he's been forced into a suit and tie world of corporate America. He's to fight battles off the track with Ford executives who see cars as products, not machine of pure speed, man. And then there's Ken. A man born to drive. Now, I gotta admit, there is quite a few characters like Christian Bale's character in this movie, right? This guy's a bit unhinged. He's a bit mad. He's a bit mental, right? And there is pilots who are like this. So Christian Bale, he nailed this, lads. And oh man, he doesn't fit in really to society, but who doesn't play by the rules. He's done the one thing that matters most. He's got one thing that matters. Raw, undeniable talent. So while the racing itself might be Hollywood fantasy, the conflict behind the scenes is absolutely real. Now, let's take a step back, lads. What actually happened? In the 1960s, Henry Ford wanted to buy Ferrari, okay? He saw them as a company that could elevate Ford's image beyond boring sales ads or whatever. Ferrari at the time, they were small, but a dominant racing company. And they were run by the ruthless and brilliant Enzo Ferrari. And by the way, if you think some of this stuff is exaggerated about Ferrari in this movie, it's not. It isn't. So it might kind of like shake you to the core. Like Ford, they make an offer to buy it. Your man at Ferrari, he laughs in their face. He tells them the cars are garbage and that Ford doesn't understand racing. And that pisses Henry Ford off beyond belief, man. This really woke up a sort of a sleeping giant in one way. Ford does the unthinkable here. And they declare war on Ferrari. Not on the streets, not on business, but on the greatest stage of racing. Well, endurance racing, sorry. Le Mans. And this isn't just about winning a race, it's about revenge. You know, he takes it very personally. But here's the problem. Ford doesn't know how to win at Le Mans. So they bring a man who does. Carroll Shelby. Matt Damon, baby. And Shelby knows that only drivers crazy enough to take Ford victory is Ken Miles. That's where the story truly begins. And what makes Le Mans great isn't just the underdog story, lads. It's the fight that happened before the race even begins. And Ken Miles isn't a Ford guy. He's a racer. He's brutally honest. He's very hard to work with in some degrees, refuses to play politics. The Ford executives hate the guy, and he just doesn't fit into their clean-cut image. And that's the real battle here. It's not Ford versus Ferrari, really. It's racers versus businessmen. And Miles is out there. He's trying to build a perfect machine, trying to push the Ford to its limits, while a bunch of suits, right, just sit in the bedrooms making decisions that could cost them in the race. Then the tension builds. Shelby has to go behind Ford's back to even get Miles in the car. Ford keeps throwing obstacles in their way, and Ferrari, they're just watching, laughing, because they know how hard endurance racing really is. And by the time we get to Le Mans, it's not just a race anymore, it's war. Now, the race itself, let's get into this, lads. This is where Le Mans could have shined, but, I even said this when I was reviewing Rush the other day, lads. It's a tough one to do, because I think even Spielberg, Scorsese, all these guys, they'd struggle to really understand what it is really like in those cars. It's incredibly hard to do for any director in the world. So, we've got to give them a little bit of rope here. The race scenes, they are over-dramatized, okay? There's no two ways about it. They make racing look too smooth, too choreographed, and it's too Hollywood. I'm going to throw it out there. Le Mans in real life, it's brutal, lads. It's 24-hour test of survival. And I remember that my race engineer, he was, I know him personally very, very well. He's won Le Mans quite a few times. And he said it's all about not following the group. In other words, lads, a lot of it can be won in pit stops. Now, we don't see this really in this movie. And in terms of you've got to go out of sequence, right? That's the key to Le Mans 24-hour racing. You don't come in the pit lane when everybody else is coming in, because all of a sudden there's a queue. You can get held up in the pit lane. So you've got to make sure you're coming in all on your own when it's nice and quiet, and that's when you make your pit stop. That's a real huge, huge thing about 24-hour racing, lads. And, what does it capture, the emotional weight of the race? What does it... Ken Miles, he's finally doing what he's born to do. Destroying Ferrari on the track. He's faster. He's better. He's pushing the car beyond anything Ford thought possible. I mean, he did an amazing job, and this is all real. And, then when he's about to win, they take it away from him, right? Well, I won't... you might think I've ruined something here, but I haven't. So just... we won't do any spoilers here. But, Ford, in one of the most infuriating moments in motorsport history, asked him to slow down at one stage. That's all I'll say. And because he's a team player, he does it. Now, these lads aren't team players. This isn't what team players is all about. This isn't it. And then the official timing... Well, actually, no, I'll probably be giving it away. So anyway, Ken Miles... things kind of go a bit south for him. And that's the real heartbreak of Le Mans 66, lads. He's had some bad luck. He's had some great luck, but he had some bad luck. And we do see this. This all gets uncovered in the movie, And then a horrible ending, I gotta admit. It's not nice. It's real. And look, that's why I'll say it. It's brutal. It's unfair. That's why this movie matters, lads. It's not about fairy tale endings. It's about what happens when, I don't want to give anything away, when racing drivers go up against it. I'll leave it at that. So, here's the deal, lads. Let's lay it straight on the line. If you're a hardcore racing fan and you're looking for a realistic movie, it's not going to deliver. All right? If you're looking for a story about obsession, friendship, and the fight between passion and politics, then this is one of the best films you'll ever watch. And Le Mans, it isn't a film about who wins on track. It's a film what it takes to even get there. And how sometimes, even if you're the best in the world can still find a way to kick your ass. and that's why you should watch this. I don't care if you're a man or a woman, right? Seriously. And this is why they've done so well. Women can watch this movie and they love it. And I've listened to, I've chatted to plenty of women. They went, oh, Peter, yeah, have you seen that movie? Like they're saying it to me because they know I used to race. So they're like, oh yeah, it's a great movie. I love it. You know, and it's not a racing movie per se. It's a movie about men who live for racing, even when the world is against them, this struggle. And that is a story goddamn worth watching, lads.
Peter.
Wow.
Wow.